How's it going, traders? Richard K from Price Action and Income, and welcome back to another one of my YouTube videos where I want to be showcasing a little timing technique which I've not shown before on my channel using fib extensions in combination with market geometry. As you all know, if you've been following me for a while, I use pitchforks and channels quite a bit to judge where a correction might end before a trend resumes again. Now, this example, before I delve into the actual timing technique, I just want to do a quick recap of a video I've done before to show you that there's not just symmetry in price movements, which is what market geometry obviously tries to accomplish. We want to see the underlying symmetry prevalent in markets and use that as our edge. So quite often we'll have symmetry in ranges using pitchforks. We can quite often judge when price hits, depending on which direction you're drawing, upper median line or lower median line of a pitchfork, that you quite often have reversals that happen at those lines. But that's just market geometry. We also have a lot of times symmetry in time, which is another layer that if you want to delve into, that is extremely interesting. And I'm going to be showing you a lot of examples, especially over single zigzags, which is the most common correction that you can follow or that pops up on a chart. Quite often when I think I'm dealing with a correction, my first go-to thought would first be, am I dealing with, or I must assume, should I say, that I'm dealing with an ABC. Now, single zigzags are just labeled like this: A, B, and C. Now, if you really want to delve into, let's say, Elliott wave, you'll be told that you need to see 5 waves for an A, 3 waves for a B, and 5 waves for a C. But the problem with that is that obviously I don't see 5 waves here. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Perhaps 1, 2, 3. Yes, for the B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 upwards. And it can be quite confusing to count Elliott waves, especially if you're trying to micromanage a trade. But that's why I obviously use my pitchforks to guide me into an area. I'm just more worried about what the shape is. And it's a 3-wave move, in this case, using an example I've used before. Just to quickly put you back on track what I mean by symmetry in ranges and symmetry in time as well. So obviously, to draw a pitchfork, you'll start at a starting point, and that's the highest high there, and then a higher low over there. My go-to pitchfork setting that I use the most is the shift pitchfork, and this is what this is set to. Price actually overshot that level there, but I also use channels, because zigzags will very often complete at an upper channel line or lower channel line, because they love following channels. Well, let me just do this properly. So we go from this low to that higher low and to that higher high over there, and you'll see that price actually hit the top of that channel and reverse lower. For those that's new to my channel, channels are the same as a modified pitchfork if you use the same anchor points. And just to illustrate that quickly, let me just get rid of this one for you. Bear with me, guys. If we use the same anchor points, then a channel is exactly the same as a modified shift pitchfork. I just like to use a channel because if I use various pitchforks on my chart, it can become clutter. So I just want to know that I'm dealing with a modified pitchfork, but just drawing a channel anyway. But quickly, just to show you the underlying symmetry that was prevalent in time as well, we can either use a date range tool, like here on TradingView. You'll see 21 bars to the upside on the first wave and exactly 21 bars to the upside over there. Also have 21 bars from that higher high to this higher low. So there's symmetry, a repetitive symmetry in time as well. Nice little tool that you might have access to if you're not using TradingView is what's called a trend-based fib time. So this is a tool I would like to use in today's video quite a bit. Before we move on to some examples, I want to be using the Euro US dollar But I just want to show you how, if you were to use this low to that high, for example, and you project it down to this higher low over there, this 100% extension in time is obviously the same as a daytime would be. But I've also noticed quite often that when you do not have a perfect symmetrical move in using fibs, for example, let's use a fib extension quickly from that high low to that high and project it from this higher low, it gives 100% extension there. Quite often you will get a C wave, and remember I'm only talking about ABCs here that can extend to the 1.382. So this is where I'm also going to be showing you, in cases where it doesn't extend to that level, an additional method that I've been testing for quite some time now, that I'm pretty happy with using as a sort of a timing tool to tell me that a move might have completed. So here we have the same thing, same range as this first move to the upside projected from this higher low. So there's time symmetry between lows and lows, highs and highs. Time out first took to get this first wave going to complete that C wave there. So this is a picture perfect example of what ABCs tend to do. But obviously, as we all know, trading doesn't always give us picture perfect movements. So we obviously need some alternative methods to see if we can use these tools that's at our disposal to our advantage. So that's just an ABC, and this is where I want to get to Euro US dollar. ABCs, like I mentioned before, is your most common corrective pattern. Obviously, tracking them in real time can be quite difficult to do if you don't know if you're unfamiliar with these. But you know, that's why we obviously have my exponential profit system course. That if you're interested in something like that, you can probably see it in the link below, where I teach how to actually track corrections and which time frames to use to figure out if a correction is on the way or not. But in any case, this is the Euro US dollar with a recent move up that started in April. And you can just, by quickly glancing over this chart, you can see that there are many ABCs there. There's one there, ABC. Obviously, this is now in hindsight, guys, but there's another one there, ABC. ABC. This could have been ugly looking ABC. We'll have a look at that as well. This was probably an expanded flat, because we have 5 waves moving down. We won't cover that now. And here we have another ABC over here. I mean, this happens on any time frame. This is set to a 4-hour, just for example. Huge ABC over there, ABC over there, and every single time that they completed, price moved back in the direction of the trend and broke the low from, in this case, a downwards move from where the correction started from. Let's just look at this one here quickly. I'm going to start showing you, and I'm going to show you the other examples in this move to the upside as well. Beautiful ABC up here as well. And first thing that I would use, obviously, always is my pitchfork. I love the go-to setting, which I use is the shift pitchfork. In this case, it's now the modified shift pitchfork that we used before. But in any case, you can use a combination. I always tell people, because they ask me, like, which one should I be using? And I would say use both. I just would use a channel in this case. Oops, let's get rid of that. Sorry, guys. Let's start over again. Apologize for that. Let's do this again. A, B, C. And this is now set to a shift pitchfork. And that's why I would draw a channel if I use exactly the same anchor points. Let me just get it right this time. And that was quite often where I'll identify a zone where these two basically encompass each other, and I'll assume that we can get a reversal from within a zone like that. So it doesn't have to be picture perfect accurate with prices reaching those lines, but let's just stick with the shift pitchfork in this example. And now that we know from the Australian dollar, US dollar example that I showed you before, that you quite often, if this was an ABC, that you'll assume that your C wave would very often be the same range as your A wave. To do that, we can use our fib extension. And there we have a perfect 100% extension. Similar to that ABC I showed you in Australian dollar, US dollar. It just took a shorter period of time to set up. But this is where I want to get to the, before I get to that, let me just show you something. We can also use the trend-based fib time to see if there was symmetry in time as well. And this is something I quite often see. If you were to wait for price to reach the 100% of this, in many cases, you're going to miss a moving lower. So the first thing you want to watch for is, did price hit in this case, if you assume this was an ABC, and you're assuming that price is going to continue with a trend, in this case it was lower, did it hit the upper median line around about a time where you have a fib extension in time? And in this case, 0.786. So this doesn't have to be 100% always on the 100. Sometimes you have the 1.382. I won't go to 0.382. It's just too short for me in time. But first thing you want to see is, did price hit, in this case, one of your median lines? Yes, it did. There was also an extension, a picture perfect one of your first wave. Your C wave was 100% extension, and it hit around about the time when it reached this upper median line on a 0.786. And that's how you can qualify whether all the, can I say, the conditions are in place that you could expect a reversal from. But you know, this could sometimes be subjective in nature. I can 100% understand it, but this is where I want to get to something else. So we used a fib extension from this starting point to that high to this low, extended it to the upside. And I want to do something different, because quite often you can find ABCs, what they call flats, and it'll just pip that high and then reverse low, and it would not even make the 100% extension. I'm going to show you an example of that soon. Let's just get rid of these lines. So now we know we had a fib extension in time, 0.786, and price also reached this upper median line. Actually broke above it a little bit, but this is where I want to do something different, and I'm going to use the fib extension as a timing tool. Now bear with me. So normally when we use a shift pitchfork, you'll see that your anchor point or your center median line is actually slanted to 50% of the range from your starting point to where you selected your first or second anchor point. So this is 50% of that range between this low and that higher high in this case, obviously. So now what I like to do is, and this is what I'm doing with this method, is I select that low like I would with a fib extension. Obviously that went to 100, but in many cases you won't find this 100. So I want to delete that, and I want to use it again, but instead of selecting that high, I just want to go to where the center median line starts from on the shift pitchfork and extend that range high. Let me just do this properly. Okay. Very interestingly, you'll see this on many cases that price will very likely reach the 1.382 or the 1.618% of just that little move to the upside there. Now, I won't necessarily see that this as an end of a move reaching these lines, but very interesting, as I'll show you in the following examples before I conclude this video, is that very often, once price breaks below, and this is now considering that price already reached the upper median line or extensions or time, one of fib time extensions, that when it breaks below your 100% extension, that the move's over to a very high degree. And that can be used as sort of a timing tool to judge whether an ABC is completed, which is the purpose of this video. Let's quickly have a look at, in this case, this move that happened to the upside. Let's say you assume that this was the end of this downward move and price was going to move higher. There we had a very small ABC. Let's just go through the phases that I use. Pitchfork, very easy to see. High starting point, lower low, lower high. Again, this is set to a shift pitchfork. A shift pitchfork, you could have used the modified there as well. It would have given you a slightly higher zone there. But here, beautiful example of where price reaches the low median line actually on 2 occasions and then moves higher. But let's use our timing tool that I'm showcasing today in today's video. Before we do that, let's go to the trend-based fib time. Duration of this downward move to up there. Again, this move was over at 0.786. One could have said a 0.382. There might be instances where this is just a very short duration move to complete. Like I say, I would quite often like to see it happen at 0.786, sorry, and at 100%, perhaps a 1.382 and 1.618 at the max. But in this case, another good example where this move stopped at the low median line at 0.786%. So 2 qualifications there. There was a fib time extension at this low. Price reached the lower median line. And if we were to use an extension, you'll see, and this is a good example what I meant before, price did not reach the 100% extension of this first drop at all. And this is where I would rather use a timing tool. In this case, go from that high, let's get rid of this magnet mode, to the starting point of this case of the shift pitchforks center median line, and just anchor it there. And there we have the same occurrence again, a 1.382 and a 1.618 in combination with hitting the lower median line. And very interesting here, as soon as price moved above the 100%, this case it was a long ranging bar, this move was over. End of the correction. All right, let's quickly look at some more examples and then I'll conclude the video for you guys. This was probably some sort of triangle. This is a really good example. We have an ABC sort of flat. And let's just use our pitchfork first to that low, fails to stay above, and then moves lower again. Now, let's have a look at our trend-based fib time. Low to low, low to high. This move finished at the 100%. So it was time symmetry between this move to the low, to the downside, and when it completed, it actually broke this low but failed to stay below it, but it was also 100%. So we qualify this as, again, could be the end of a correction. If we were to use the trend-based fib extension from that low high to this lower low to there, yes, price reached the 100%, which is typical to see between the first range of the first wave and the presumed C wave, in this case ABC again. But what if we use our timing tool again? And we want to go from that high to the starting point of your center median line. There we have that 1.382 move again. Now, very difficult with what can I say, ABC flats is that quite often, yes, we had a 1.382%. As soon as price, you can say, argue, broke above this, but this candle hasn't closed yet. You would not be really able to, obviously the 100% line of the extension was not up here. But this is how you can deal with ABC flats. So you had a few things happening here, 100% in time, repetition at the lower median line. And also we had a 1.382 from our timing. But in this case, yes, price could have moved a little bit low, but it didn't. Obviously, in this case, it was an ABC flat. Can be quite difficult to deal with. And this is where I would switch to looking at the origin point of this extension that you had there. And I'll show you another example after this when I finish this video, is that as soon as it broke above the horizontal line of where your center median line is, I'm sorry, mixing my words a little bit there, is when this move finished. All right. Hopefully you guys can see where I'm getting with this stuff. Here's another one where you have an ABC flat. Yes, it broke below this low, but you know, I would consider this as an ABC flat. Let's have a look at that example again, just to show you that this does work where these sort of patterns are still ABC, but it didn't extend much lower than this low here. Again, shift pitchfork, my go-to, end of move at the low median line. If we were to use a fib extension, low to the high over there, see, a failure to meet the 100%. Let's look at a trend-based fib time when it hit this low here. Not picture perfect. Like I mentioned before, I quite like to see it happen at 100% or 0.786. A very strong move to the upside. But if you were more risk adverse and you took that trade, let's have what I propose to use as a timing tool here. We can go from that high to this low. Oops, sorry, I'm already doing it wrong. From there to the starting point of your shift pitchfork center median line. And there we have a 100%. It's an ABC flat again, and as soon as price broke above, albeit it's a little bit high up, but it does signal the end of this move and price continued higher. Let's use one more example. See if we can get one move down, lower low, lower high, price moves to here. And this will be the last example for this video, guys. Remember, I'm just showcasing today that ABCs aren't quite often 100% going to trace out the same in a range or in time. But using these additional tools from your fib toolbox can definitely help you, and especially the extension technique using the judging when a move is finished works extremely well to judge, to think when a ABC might have finished, if I can say that. So we have move down, move up, move lower. And trend-based fib extension, a very strong move to the downside, extended over there. It doesn't even reach the 100%. And you'll quite often see this. Before we use the center median line starting point of the shift, let's use a trend-based fib time again to there. And the end of this move actually happened at the 0.786. That's that repetition that I see quite often. In this case, price didn't actually reach the lower median line. And, you know, you could have said, you know, if I'm to change this to a modified shift pitchfork, it would have missed it as well. But it hit the center median line of that one, which is also something you see often. When you do start trading with these type of techniques, you know, you got to keep an open mind that everything is not always going to stop at a lower median line or upper median line, depending on which direction you want to trade. So be very mindful of that. So we have first drop lower, lower low, lower high. It also stopped here at the 0.786. And if we were to use our extension again and apply it to the starting point of your center median line, there we have that 1.382 move again. And as soon as price broke above the 100% of this projection to the downside, the move was over. And this is what I'm trying to tell you guys. This can be used to judge when the ABC might have finished, and it could also be used as an entry technique. Right, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you want to see some more examples of this in practice, then by all means, maybe tell me to look at some of the markets in the comments below that you like to follow, and then I can always do a video about that. Again, guys, thanks for all those that have subscribed to my channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, but you like my content, then please do so. Hit the notification bell to be alerted when I release my next video. And yeah, that concludes today's video. I hope you all had a great weekend, and I'll see you again in my next video. Until next time, goodbye.